And you're in the Situation Room happening now. Mitt Romney wants to know why Newt Gingrich is so angry.
No, it's not.
Stand by for my candid interview with the Republican presidential candidate and his wife, Ann, on their campaign bus here in Iowa. Also, our new poll shows Ron Paul and Romney are the front runners here in Iowa only 6 days before the caucuses. There's new evidence, though, that Paul is having a tough time dealing with the limelight and the harsh attacks by his opponents. And Newt Gingrich's wife, Callista, is usually seen, rarely heard. Now she's breaking her silence. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Dubuque, Iowa. You're in the Situation Room. Just 6 days to go before Iowans cast the first presidential votes of 2012. We're seeing more dramatic swings in the Republican race for the White House. Look at the new CNN Time ORC poll we unveiled just a short time ago. It shows Mitt Romney now leading the pack here in Iowa with 25%, just 3 points ahead of Ron Paul. But get this. Rick Santorum has soared into third place with 16%, narrowly edging out Newt Gingrich, who's fallen to fourth place. Almost all the Republican candidates are campaigning here in Iowa today, knowing anything could happen when voters have their say come next Tuesday night. I sat down earlier today with the frontrunner Mitt Romney and his wife Ann Romney on board their campaign bus here in Iowa. Of course, we talked about the presidential race in depth, substantive issues, the politics of what's going on, but the conversation also got personal. I got to see a side of them and their marriage many people have not seen. Let's talk a little bit about politics. I want to talk about the two of you. We've got a lot to discuss, but you're going to do well here in Iowa. Only 6 days to go. You think you're going to win?
Well, I hope to win in every state, but I'm really not going to join in the expectations game. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'd like to do well here.
How does it feel? Because you've been here.
It feels very good.
Better than 4 years ago?
Better than 4 years ago. There's a lot of enthusiasm. People are very, very animated in our party. They really want to see Barack Obama out of office. They want to get America back on track. And so they're taking a close look at the candidates, and I think I'm getting good support here. Sure hope so.
You were First Lady of Massachusetts.
That's right.
You ever think about being First Lady of the United States?
You know, honestly, I don't. I think about what we have to do for Mitt to get the nomination and then what a difficult step it'll be for him to run against Barack Obama. So I don't really project myself that far yet. I think that's a little presumptuous.
Because you haven't said I would like to be like X or Y or Hillary Clinton or Laura Bush or anything like that.
The thing that's wonderful is every First Lady has always brought something special, whether it's their personality or their initiatives or whatever. And so if you look back on our history, is that we can all be proud of all of our First Ladies. And, each one will bring their uniqueness, and I expect that I would bring my uniqueness as well.
Did you like being First Lady of Massachusetts?
Very much so. I very much did. I worked with at-risk youth for a lot of my adult life, and it was nice to be able to have more attention brought to some of the issues that I care about.
So when you're you'll be an activist First Lady, if in fact, and it's premature right now. First you got to get the Republican nomination,
right.
Then you have
There's
to be
a lot of ifs.
There's a lot of
first.
steps. But if you were, you could see yourself getting involved in helping other people.
I totally could see doing that, yes.
Not just sitting back.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are aware that I have multiple sclerosis, and I think, bringing awareness to people that are suffering, that have difficulties in their lives. Not only, I think, would I bring more awareness to people that have to deal with a lot in their life, but I would also love to try to move the ball forward a little bit and trying to find a cure.
Well, tell us about that, if you don't mind, with sharing. What does that mean, MS, for you?
Multiple sclerosis, for almost everyone that has it, has enormous amount of fatigue in their life. And it's like starting over. When you're diagnosed, it's like, okay, the rules of life have changed now, and you aren't operating the same way. Your memory isn't as good. You get fatigued. You lose. Oftentimes, you might lose function in a leg, an arm, an eye. I mean, all these bad things happen with MS, and it's a progressive disease. It also is a relapsing, remitting disease where you can go in remission, which I fortunately am in right now. But it's a difficult thing to deal with, and everyone that does have MS, it's pretty universal that they deal with a lot of fatigue.
Because I know people who have it, but medication can really can really help.
It's been enormous progress in the last, since I've been diagnosed, really, enormous progress in keeping people, their exasperations not as severe and not as frequent. So that's where the medicines have been very, very helpful. But we're right on the cusp of finding all sorts of new ways to deal with multiple sclerosis.
The story you've told, and I don't know if our viewers have heard you tell it, when you suspected that Mrs. Romney was getting sick. You weren't sure what it was, and you had no idea what was going to happen. But I wonder if you want to share that story with us when you first suspected that something was wrong.
Well, if we knew that something was awry, and our doctor said you need to see a neurologist. We went to Massachusetts General Hospital, where the folks assigned us a superb neurologist. We went into his lobby, and on the table there were brochures that described ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and multiple sclerosis. Those looked to be the things this neurologist was treating. And that
actually,
was...
in reading the symptoms, they were my symptoms. And so,
ALS too?
Yes.
The symptoms,
Is it the same symptoms? MS?
Similar.
The symptoms were, in Ann's case, similar for either one of those diseases, and we then went at his office, and he did a series of neurological tests on Ann, had her stand on one foot and so forth, and it was clear that she didn't have feeling where she should have, she didn't have the balance she should have had, that something was seriously wrong. He left the room, and we embraced each other. We were very emotional, and I said to Ann, we can deal with anything as long as it's not terminal. Ann's my life. I mean, we live for each other, and it was a difficult time for us. It's been challenged since then, but we're very fortunate that her condition is not terminal, and that she's been able to be strong, and that this trial came, and we were able to confront it.
You know, you've had an amazing marriage together, and that one commercial that you've done, it's a powerful commercial. You know all the pundits, what they said.
I actually don't know what they said because I'm on the road.
They said that, you know what, you've had a wonderful marriage, great kids, and you can see the two of you together right now, that it was in marked contrast to Newt Gingrich and his 3 marriages. Was there a political background to what you were trying to do there?
You know, not at all. I think, you know, whenever I speak about our life experience, it is ours. This is our story. It's not anyone else's story. Everyone has their own story. And for me to be able to talk about my life and how I feel about my husband is my story. And it was never intended to be seen in the lens of anything other than our story.
Tell us how you feel about it.
Oh, don't blurt out the truth, honey.
Well, I will say that, that for me, it's so comforting to know that Mitt is always by my side and always sticks with me in the hardest times. And when you just described what it was like to have that diagnosis, it was Mitt that got me through my darkest hour. It was also Mitt that got me through those really tough years raising 5 really quite rambunctious and at times quite naughty boys, where he would call home and remind me when I would be quite exasperated if he was traveling that what I was doing was more important than what he was doing, that my job in his eyes was more valuable than his. It's like my job is temporary and yours is going to bring lifelong happiness and even eternal happiness for the family. And so we had that kind of partnership and that kind of support system that's always been there for a long time. And you know, when it gets really tough, it's nice to know that Mitt's there for me.
Tell us something that we may not know about the governor.
Well, I think people don't appreciate actually his sense of humor. That he actually plays a lot of tricks all the time, and that he's actually laughs most of the time. I mean, as soon as you will turn these cameras off and we'll be there, he will be telling a joke and we'll be laughing, we'll be sitting back and telling jokes.
So you're saying he's a funny guy?
He actually is a very funny guy.
Because you know the image, governor, very stiff, very proper.
And it's funny how that is. And it's like that may be his public perception, but that is not who he is privately at all.
Is she right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I live for laughter. I mean, but you know, in debates, you get asked questions, you answer the questions. You don't tell jokes. And as a matter of fact, my sons are a little tired of my jokes. I actually like jokes as well as things that are sort of fun. My sons like spontaneous humor, not jokes, but I like it all. Anytime you can laugh. I mean, I go back, I used to watch Laurel and Hardy, the Three Stooges, even the Keystone Cops. I mean, I like old humor.
I know
like
you
modern
watch
humor.
I Love Lucy because it's come up in the campaign.
That is true. I watched I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
I watched The Honeymooners. I love humor. And
what do you think? Tell us what you're thinking when that Newt Gingrich didn't get on the Virginia ballot, and you made the comparison to I Love Lucy, Lucy in the Chocolate Factory.
Well, I think his campaign manager said him not getting on the ballot in Virginia was like Pearl Harbor. And my reaction was, no, this is not at all like Pearl Harbor. This is more like, Lucy at the Chocolate Factory. The things are coming at you very fast. You're not always as organized as you'd like to be, and sometimes things don't work out the way you'd want them to work out. And that happens to me in our campaign. That's happened in my life various times. It's a humorous image, but in many respects, it reflects what happens in a campaign.
It was very funny, but the serious part is if he couldn't even get on the Virginia ballot, he couldn't get the 10,000 signatures he needs. What does that say about his campaign?
Well, I can't speak to his campaign, but obviously that's his home state, and we knew what the rules were when we got into this. We had to organize our effort in each state to get on the ballot. You got to be able to play by the rules if you're ultimately going to want to become the nominee that beats Barack Obama.
I interviewed him yesterday, Newt Gingrich, and let's go through a couple of points he made and give you a chance to respond, because he wanted to really challenge you to one-on-one, no holds barred, no moderator like me, just a full debate, just the two of you. And I said to him, I'm going to speak with Governor Romney tomorrow. Look in the camera. Tell us what you want to say to him. And he looked in the camera and he said this.
All I'd say, Mitt, is if you want to run a negative campaign and you want to attack people, at least be man enough to own it. That's your staff and that's your organization. Those are your millionaire friends paying for it. And let's be clear, I'm willing to fight for real job creation with a real Reagan Kemp-style job creation program. You are a moderate Massachusetts Republican who, in fact, is very timid about job creation. Let's get it on together, and let's compare our two plans.
I don't know why he's so angry. Look, this is a campaign about the things we believe in. I believe the country's being led in a very unfortunate and destructive way by a president that doesn't really understand our economy or understand America. I can get America working again. That's why I'm running. As for a one-on-one with Newt Gingrich, if he and I end up being the two finalists, why, we'll have that opportunity. But right now, we've, debated maybe 10 times. We'll do more debates in January. But until he and I really are the two finalists, why, there are other people who still deserve to be on the stage. Ron Paul, I think, is leading here in Iowa as of today. So the idea that this is all about Newt or all about Mitt is just not right. We have a field of candidates. I'll debate all of them. And when it comes down to the finalists, I hope I'm one of them. And if I am, I'll debate who that other finalist is.
If Ron Paul were to be the Republican nominee, it's a big if, but let's say he wins the Republican nomination. Could you vote for him?
I've already crossed that river, if you will, by saying on the stage a number of times, as I believe Speaker Gingrich has, that all the people on the stage would be superior to the president we have. So yes, I would vote for him.
You would vote for someone who says that if Iran had a nuclear bomb, it wouldn't represent a threat to Israel?
I don't agree with a lot of the things that Ron Paul says, and I would vehemently oppose many of his initiatives, and I believe we'd be able to move him in a direction that's more productive. But I can tell you that this president, in my view, is taking America in the wrong direction in Iran, in Israel, and with regards to our policies internationally and here at home.
So you think Ron Paul would be a better president than Barack Obama?
I have said that, and I think Newt Gingrich has said the same thing on the stage when we've spoken about our Republican contenders. But look, this is not a race, of course, about people on the stage I don't think should become the nominee. In my race is about getting me to become the nominee and taking the Republican banner and making sure that we get America back on track.
All right, stand by for much more of my interview with Mitt and Ann Romney. I asked Mitt Romney why he won't release his financial records, and Ann Romney explains why she had to convince her husband to run for president again. Much more of the interview coming up right here in The Situation.